It went from sunshine to pitch black.
Started coming up over the trees in a circular motion.
I didn't know what to think. I was just praying the Lord let me live.
Got to be a tornado.
This room here, it's gone. They ended up in the field.
This is something you would dream about or you would hear somebody talk about on the news. This is nothing you think would happen at your house.
This can be replaced. Family and loved ones can't.
This is a time that people really need to help each other.
And thanks so much for joining us for this special edition of On the Record. I'm Lena Tillett. July 19th, 2023. It's a day many around here won't soon forget. A rare summertime twister barreled through parts of Nash and Edgecombe counties, decimating homes, shredding massive trees, leaving a big mark on small communities. And the tornado didn't just target rural areas. The Pfizer plant in Rocky Mount, one of the largest employers in Nash County, saw a whole warehouse destroyed. And that, of course, has national implications. A Pfizer representative telling me this week 40,000 pallets of finished medicine and supplies are just gone. That translates to roughly 8% of our country's hospital supply. While the images were stunning, the stories of survival took our breaths away. Because miraculously, despite people having just seconds to take cover, no one died. Here are their stories.
This is the bathroom, or what's left of it, that Michael and Deborah were huddled in with their dog on Wednesday afternoon when they saw the tornado coming from that field. Looking around here, it's a wonder how they survived the storm. This is the tornado captured from the Puckett Mobile Home Park on Wednesday. In it, you can see the Poithress's home reduced to rubble.
I heard him start cracking. He said, tornado, 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 get in the bathroom.
She got into the bathroom next to the tub and started climbing into it. I had my shoulder against the door. I'm holding onto the dog with my left arm, and I'm holding onto her shirt tail with the other.
Deborah, a mere 70 pounds and under hospice care, curled up into this bathtub.
I was praying, dear Lord, please help us through this. Please help us through it. And he did.
And it went by in a flash.
Yep. Saw it.
Within seconds, the roof blew off, the couple flung around by the storm.
She fell out of the tub, and if I hadn't held onto her, she would have been gone.
After the twister obliterated the home they paid cash for, they were buried under their life's work.
I opened my eyes, and all I saw was like wood and insulation and stuff all under my face.
Luckily, a miracle was near.
And EMS was just happened to be passing by.
So.
Deborah was taken to the hospital, her tiny body covered in bumps, bruises, and abrasions.
Got a big lump on my head.
The home they crawled out of looking like it went through a blender. Everything they worked so hard for scattered about.
It's just total and utter destruction.
For now, the couple and their dog Sabo,
I'm the storm puppy,
are recovering with family, literally taking one day at a time. What do you think you're most grateful for today?
my life. My life.
And at the end of the day, you guys still have each other.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
The couple's insurance on this home actually expired last month, so they have absolutely nothing to rebuild. The community here has started a GoFundMe page. You can find that information on our website, WRAL.com. In Nash County, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
A sight you never want to see as 67 children are playing inside.
When I came in the inside, it blew the door open. That door came open from the force, and I pushed the door. I don't know how I did it. It was grace of God. And I locked the door.
This is now a confirmed tornado on the ground.
We're in the pathway. We're going to get hit because it's right there.
But St. Stephen's Loving Daycare knew exactly what to do.
We are trained through the Division of Child Care. If we have a tornado, a storm come through, to take the shelter in place.
It was time to implement the plan, and they just had minutes.
The division requires us to do the training. We put the kids on the wall. We have cribs on this side. No kids were in those cribs. She took all the cribs here lined them up with babies in them that were not able to move.
The calls went out to families that their babies were safe. Many of the parents right next door at Pfizer.
Of course, I started crying because I'm emotional.
Yeah, absolutely. How can you not be when you look at something like this?
Yes,
I mean, and
it was a miracle.
That everyone's still shaken up from yesterday's storm, but today there is a profound feeling of gratefulness and community. You saved a lot of lives, and you should feel really good about that.
I do.
Goodness, wow, I get chills. Joining us to discuss what it was like covering the tornado in the Weather Center, behind the scenes, and also live in the field is meteorologist Kat Campbell, producer Miriam Melvin, and reporter Chelsea Donovan. Look, Kat, we don't often talk about the story behind the story, but I think it is incredibly relevant in this situation, particularly as it relates to how you all were able to warn people that a tornado threat was actually forming. So you were able to do that before even the National Weather Service was. Bring us into what you all were seeing.
Well, we have a lot of tools that we use in the WRAL Severe Weather Center, and we're able to kind of cross-check what we're seeing using all of the different tools. When we started to see a supercell form, we started to text back and forth. We have a lot of responsibilities that include not just being on television. So I was back in a booth recording videos, getting things up to date. I was actually looking at the general environment of what we had going on because the Storm Prediction Center had mentioned maybe issuing a watch. I looked at the radar and said, we've got a supercell developing and it's heading into this environment. So I'm getting all the graphics kind of ready to go for this situation, not thinking that it would happen that fast. Meteorologist Amy Wilmoth is watching over the radar, and she sends, a text message to Elizabeth and I, and we jump into motion. I mean, it came together so quickly. Luckily, I had already prepped a lot of graphics, and Elizabeth was already going on air. We actually, at 12:30 when we were back on air, we did not have a weather hit. At that point, our wonderful producer let us jump in, even though that was not slated to happen, so we could get on the air and warn even before there was any kind of warning or anything out at that point. So thanks to their flexibility, we could jump in as soon as we saw things start to get suspicious.
And I'm going to talk about with you, Mimi, when we started seeing those first images of the damage. But Kat, what were you seeing that maybe the National Weather Service hadn't yet said?
So what we were seeing was we were looking at the radar, and the radar they also have access to, and we were seeing really tight rotation. We started to see a hook echo. I will say, I am sure that they saw that as well.
Right.
We went ahead and jumped on air because we can jump on TV, really whenever we want to start warning people. And at that point, it takes time to draw up a warning. And we've actually sat through training with the National Weather Service before, and they have to type out all that text. They have to plot where it's going and the time. So it takes a couple of minutes sometimes to actually draw up the warning and press the button to get it out there.
Right.
So I am sure that at the point we were on air, they were in the process of doing that. We just knew, given the radar scans, that it was urgent and we needed to get this out as fast as possible. So we weren't going to wait for them to say anything to pull the plug on
Right.
us.
Fortunately, we were live on the air at the time, so we were able to do what we're supposed to do when we're live on the air, which is to make sure people are safe and put them in the best positions to do so. Mimi, you were in the control room. Excuse me, Miriam. We call you Mimi in the newsroom. You were in the control room, and you begin to see some of those first images. What's going through your mind as you're actually now seeing the proof of what Kat was talking about in the Weather Center?
Well, it took a little while for us to get our crews there because, again, we had stories on the other side, different counties, so they had to drive 40 minutes, an hour, and we were able to get Sky 5 up into the air. And Brian Schrader was here actually doing some of the traffic and, helping out. He broke quickly from traffic to jump into Sky 5 with Ed Wilson, photographer Ed Wilson, and they made it there in breakneck time. Thank God we had, the skies were clear on our end. And the moment I saw the path, because it was very distinct, I said, Lord have mercy, because the first thing you think is someone may have perished. And so you're really afraid at that point because you know that you see homes and cars and businesses destroyed, but life is something that you can't get back.
Right.
So, you know, we all knew, okay, it's time to buckle up. And everybody, let's give this community what they need. We need to support them, we need to show them, and we need to tell their stories in a way that, you know, has dignity as well.
Absolutely, that's so well said. When people hear continuous coverage, that's when we shift gears and we go into this mode where we are going to stay on the air because we want to let people know how to get safe if there is some threat to their safety. And also we want to show what's happening on the ground. You started to see I say that you're a front row seat to history because before it's on the air, you're seeing it. What was going through your mind as you saw just so much destruction in so many different places?
At that point, you know, there's no playbook for this. It is literally, we all started acting in sync, the entire crew. And since we had Sky 5 and we were first there, you know, first we want to make sure we're not going to show anything that's going to be a little jarring.
Right.
And we have professionals who make sure, you know, that everything is clear. And at that point, it was like, okay, Q Brian, tell us what you see. And he was able to give us great descriptions. And the cameras, because we have, you know, these high-powered lenses, they were able to show us, you know, the smallest piece of damage and homes that now are blown apart.
Right.
So at this point, it's just make sure you show people the damage, but also, you know, again, we're human. So we want to tell the stories. And then that's when Keenan Willard came in on the ground, in the middle of it. He was the photographer and the reporter. So he's running in front of the camera, and then he's going behind and walking alongside. Again, being respectful to the homeowners in the area, but you know, people wanted to open up. And I remember one gentleman that they interviewed, I believe that their family owned either 2 or 3 homes all in the same vicinity. And, you know, Keenan just kept asking, is everyone safe? You know, and, you know, what is your next step? And the gentleman said, you know, everyone's safe. We can get this again. So, you know, it just shows how people are resilient.
Absolutely.
And they know what's important.
We see that so often in our community. Unfortunately, we've had to cover a lot of historic weather events in recent years, and we see how resilient and also how kind people are as they're helping people pick up the pieces. We're going to have much more with our WRAL team that covered the powerful twister that hit our area 2 weeks ago, and also information on how you can help the victim. Stay with us.
When it comes to North Carolina weather, the difference is clear as day.
Today's a WRAL Weather Alert Day.
Only WRAL has the tools.
There's the WRAL storm tracker right in the middle of it all.
I'm inside the severe thunderstorm.
The experience.
If you're near downtown Durham, you need to be in your safe spot.
And the experts.
I've been looking at the radar and peering into the storm, looking for the strongest winds.
To get it right when you need it.
Our forecast really worked like clockwork.
That's the difference with WRAL News. That's coverage you can count on.
Welcome back. We continue to talk with key members of WRAL's team coverage after that EF-3 tornado hit parts of Nash and Edgecombe counties last month. I want to bring in Chelsea Donovan now, a reporter that arrived on the ground not long after this happened. You also were able to survey some of the damage with the Nash County Sheriff. What was that like as you were both seeing the impact of this tornado for the first time?
Yeah, I'll echo Miriam's thoughts. It took us a long while to get there, first of all, because all the roads were closed. 95 was shut down. It was backed up for miles due to all of the damage. And when we did get there, they were sort of huddled around the Red Oak Volunteer Fire Department, where we became the EOC, or Emergency Operations. And it was also where the state troopers helicopter was flying in and out of. So it gave us a really good picture of where to go. And that's when we started going down some of these back roads in the Dorchester community and really starting to see just homes that had been there for decades that were obliterated. Trees and cars were smashed, and really people were kind of walking out of their homes and seeing it as we were, as they were probably huddled in some of those interior rooms, and you could just see sort of the shock and devastation on their faces. They were seeing it as we were for the first time, and emergency services and responders were seeing it with us as well.
You know, you had rare access though, where you're going with the sheriff who is processing all of this and thinking, okay, how do we need to respond as an office? How do we need to respond as the EOC in general? Kind of bring us in that deliberation that you were seeing happening with the sheriff.
It was controlled chaos, and it was sort of how do we clear the roads? Who do we call? Where do we set up where people can come get bottled water and food and things of that nature, because there was no electricity. Many of these communities had no water at this point. So he was just continually on the radio with his staff trying to really figure out first how to get the roads clear, because the traffic was so backed up that they couldn't even get emergency responders to these homes that needed the help the most.
We were showing part of your coverage of that just heartbreaking situation for that couple, already vulnerable. The woman was on hospice care and their home is gone now. What was it like being with them? Because you talked to them the day after, correct?
Yeah.
What was it like being with them as it was sinking in all that they lost?
Heartbreaking. That's all I can describe. It was shocking to see this couple that had spent everything that they had on this mobile home in this small community, and they did everything right. Once they got the warning, they went right into the bathtub, they grabbed their dog. He was hanging on to her as she was just a mere 70 pounds while also trying to elbow the door shut. They both said it lasted less than 15 seconds, and had he not held onto her, since she was just a small framed woman, she would have been up as that bathtub was, which was 100 yards away from where they landed, which was sort of tumbling around in the rubble. And it was heartbreaking to know that they had spent a relative's inheritance on this home. Their insurance lapsed just a couple weeks before the tornado. And so within moments, their lives were uprooted and they had nothing to fall back on. And it's a wonder that they're all alive and not far worse than you're seeing now with just some bumps and bruises, even the dog.
Yeah, the dog. Oh my gosh, the dog being huddled with him. We kept hearing the same thing. We lost so much, but we didn't lose our lives. Kat, one of the consistent things we were hearing from people on the ground was that they had no warning in terms of hail or heavy rain. It just suddenly felt like they heard that freight train and they knew what was happening. What was happening there? Why wasn't there kind of these things to precede it?
Well, we're not used to these kinds of tornadoes in North Carolina. A lot of times when we see either a tornado touchdown or a tornado warning issued, it's in a line of storms and there's some breaks in the line, and that's where the tornadoes can spin up. And that's one of the ways that we commonly see tornado warnings issued. And because it's a line of storms in those cases, there's always a lot of rain surrounding the tornadoes. Or we see tornadoes in tropical situations where, again, when you have a hurricane come through, a tropical storm, there's going to be rain surrounding those tornadoes. But this was more like something you would see in Oklahoma, in Texas, in Tornado Alley. This was a supercell storm. It was isolated. There were no other storms around it. And all the rain was on the north side of the storm. And the hail threat would have been as well. There really wasn't any hail from this storm, or notable hail at least. So the rain was offset. This was not a rain-wrapped tornado. And that's very, very uncommon for us here in North Carolina. It was out of the ordinary for us. And, you know, the last time we had a setup, even in the U.S., that I can remember, that was kind of this similar setup to how this tornado formed was in 2016, and that wasn't here in North Carolina. So this is a really rare meteorological mechanism that caused this tornado to form. There's studies going on about it right now.
Wow.
And I sat through a seminar and a study on it at University of Alabama in Huntsville, and some of it potentially having to do with our mountains to the west. So there's a lot of studies going on about that. And
so we're going to learn more about this.
This
is just the beginning. Miriam, if we could just kind of take a step back here and just recognize the human toll. So many people still need our help. What is the beauty of being a journalist in a moment like this?
We have a responsibility to our viewers to help keep them safe, to keep them informed, and then once the tragedy is over, now we've got to do all that we can to reach out to the community to try to get, you know, the funds that they need. We can't always rely on the government. You know, sometimes what we see here in North Carolina, I've been here now 22 years, and in each situation, North Carolinians step up to help one another. And so if there were an appeal that I had to make, it would be to just give. You know, give money, give time, your resources, anything you can spare, because people lost everything. But again, as you said, they didn't lose their lives. And that was what struck me the most as a producer. You know, at the time I have adrenaline and I'm on a rush, and but I'm still thinking, okay, hold it together, because this is our responsibility. People are relying on us.
And we are their voice.
And we are their voice.
Miriam, Chelsea, Kat, you all did incredible work that day and in the days after. Thank you so much. It's an honor to work with all of you. Coming up, we're going to talk about what Miriam was just talking about, relief efforts. Right now, we're learning that they're lagging and the need is great. We're going to talk to the head of the Rocky Mount Chamber of Commerce about a relief fund and how you can help. Welcome back. Joining us now to talk about efforts to help tornado victims is Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce President David Ferris. David, thanks so much for joining us. Last we talked to you and also folks with United Way, which partnered up to form the Twin County Tornado Relief Fund. We were told that you all had raised less than 10% of what you needed to begin taking applications. So bring us up to date on the status of things there.
Well, first of all, Lena, thank you for allowing me to be on today. It's truly a miracle there were no fatalities, and God has done his part in saving those people. And now it's up to us to help those people recover. Jenny Moorbutter, who is my counterpart with the United Way in Rocky Mount, and I met the next day and tried to determine how we could best help, as we did with the QVC fire. And Jenny and her team at United Way have put together a great group of vetting, and it worked so well. Then we're going to use the same model, except obviously this applies to everyone in the Twin Counties who had a loss of property. We're going to try and be as equitable and fair as our resources will allow us to be. And it breaks your heart when you see the suffering, just like the couple, the lady was 75 pounds, and she has lost her life savings, and thankfully, but not her life. Mr. Barnell had indicated early on that all these things can be replaced in time, humans can't. And he's so right. What we have done, we're in a much better shape today than we were a short while ago. Funds are coming in. We had one church earlier this week that gave us a check for $25,000, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. And we're beginning to get more and more of that type of funding. And we're getting checks from the Southeast region. Frankly, we've gotten checks out of Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and others. So people's generosity is helping. We really do need the funding, and 100%.
Just about 15 seconds. Can you tell me how people can access the funding?
Yeah, through the United Way in Rocky Mount. They will take the applications and work through them.
Okay, thank you so much, David, for your time. I really appreciate it. And we have that information on our website, WRAL.com. You can just search tornado there and you can find out how to access the funding. We so appreciate your generosity as so many people are trying to pick up the pieces from their lives. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Leave a comment and share this video with your friends. With daily uploads, there will always be a conversation.